Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Z-Cast. And today it is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. And in today's episode, we will be discussing the Houston Texans, of course, from the AFC South Division. Now, last season in 2024, the Texans finished 10-7. They did win their division, finished first place in the AFC South, and they did host a home wild card game where they defeated the Los Angeles Chargers in a classic game, and that was. And unfortunately for the Texans, their season did end in a divisional round loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, who they've kind of lost to in the playoffs the last couple of years. Well, they lost to us the year before, but again, they've kind of struggled against the Chiefs. And unfortunately for them, they did lose to Kansas City in the divisional round last year. It was a very tight game. The Texans did play the Chiefs very tight. So obviously in 2025, I'm sure there's still the Texans are going to be ready for this upcoming season, obviously after two, kind of disappointing endings to their seasons. Now, of course, C.J. Stroud, ever since he's been placed in Houston, he has been the guy. He did take a bit of a step back in 2024. Now, I think a big part of it was pretty bad offensive line play for the Texans last year, besides Laremy Tunsil, who's obviously not on the team anymore, but they did suffer some pretty bad offensive line play last year, and of course that meant C.J. Stroud struggled and certainly did not look as good or as comfortable as he did his rookie season. And I think a lot of Texans fans were accustomed to seeing C.J. Stroud play at an elite level. He did still play at an elite level, but certainly took a step back and did not take the step forward that a lot of people were kind of hoping for after a pretty strong and a bit of a surprising rookie season, the way he came in and kind of instantly clicked and, started winning games right away for the Houston Texans. Now, they also lost a couple of their big-time wide receivers, including Stephon Diggs, who was their big free agent get last offseason. He unfortunately suffered a torn ACL, and I believe their Week 8 loss, or I believe an Week 8 win against the Colts, he did suffer a torn ACL, which unfortunately for him and for them, and for he was out for missed the entire season, and his Texans career only lasted 8 games, so that obviously sucks for them. They did lose Diggs. Obviously, he went to the Patriots this offseason. They also lost one of their guys who unfortunately has not been able to stay healthy as much, and that is wide receiver Tank Dell. Suffered another gruesome knee injury last year towards the end of last season against Kansas City around Christmas time. So unfortunately for him in Houston, I do not think he will be back until maybe the end of the 2025 season. So that is obviously a tough loss. 2 of C.J. Stroud's top guys were missing last year. Of course, he's still got Nico Collins, top 10 wide receiver in my opinion. And also the defense last year played okay, played solid, but still, I still think their defense is missing some guys besides Will Anderson Jr. and Derek Stingley on there. They definitely need some more star power to their defense to get their defense rolling for 2025. Now, of course, that brings us to the 2025 Houston Texans. We're expected to see year 3 C.J. Stroud, I believe he's in the same system again, which is very crucial for these young quarterbacks to not have to switch coaches and switch schemes to truly build that chemistry and build that, get more and more comfortable with the playbook over the 3 years he's been in Houston. So, obviously very good to see that. Now, the Texans did trade away their star left tackle and mainly the only good guy on their offensive line last season. They traded Laremy Tunsil to the Washington Commanders. A bit of a surprising move. Now, again, they did end up replacing him by signing free agent left tackle Cam Robinson, who I do think will be a pretty big addition to this offensive line, which obviously needs all the help they can get. But again, I think losing Laremy Tunsil is a potential big loss for this team, which is pretty, again, a little confusing as to what we saw how much of a struggle it was for them to protect CJ last year. So again, losing Laremy Tunsil, I'm not sure how it's going to help their offensive line, so I am still a bit concerned about that. They also signed free agent guard Laken Tomlinson from the Jets, I believe. Got him locked up to a 2-year deal. Again, as mentioned before, they did sign Cam Robinson. They also have one of the more exciting running back rooms in the entire NFL. Now, these guys are both a little older, and especially Joe Mixon, who missed some time last season. I believe Joe Mixon is going to be out to start this season as well, but they do have veteran now, Nick Chubb. They signed Nick Chubb, so I'm very excited to see Nick Chubb in this offense. Again, they have a pretty solid, passing attack, so adding a guy like Nick Chubb to an offense like this could really help this offense take off to the next level, especially, if they can improve their offensive line. They also have pretty solid tight end in Dalton Schultz, pretty good, reliable pass catcher. Really good for C.J. Stroud. Also got a rookie last year, Cade Stover, pretty solid. Now, this team, they also signed free agent. I think they actually traded it for him from the Eagles. they traded for safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who unfortunately is injured right now, but I do expect to have him back by the start of the season. I'm expecting that seems to be what the reports are saying right now out of Houston, that he should be expected. Again, a big guy that could bring some juice and energy to this defense. Again, you pair him next to Derek Stingley, who's one of the top 5 corners, and if you ask me, the entire NFL. Of course, got a very good young pass rush. Got Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter out there, some pretty big dogs on their defense. So, obviously, adding a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson should obviously improve this defense as well. Obviously, expecting to see big things out of Will Anderson Jr. in year 3, possibly lead the NFL in sacks, as well as Derek Stingley, again, one of the top 7, if you want to be, top 7 cornerback in the entire NFL. Now, let's talk about the Houston Texans draft. They did not have a first-round pick in this draft, but that's okay because they still got 2 studs at wide receiver. They drafted 2 guys from the same college, including in the round 2, wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. And then in round 3, they doubled down and took his teammate Jalen Noel, another receiver out of Iowa State. 2 studs out of Iowa State at receiver that are instantly going to impact this team, especially Jaden Higgins, who I expect to slide right into that slot receiver role week 1. You pair him next to Nico Collins on the outside there. That's a pretty, especially when you get Tank Dell back and healthy, that's a pretty dangerous duo at receiver. I am expecting big things out of both of these rookie wide receivers. I've heard big things about them. Big fan of these guys. I think they're going to be great. Obviously, 2 great weapons to add for C.J. Stroud on the outside there, so obviously expect that to help this Texans offense. Yeah, so again, the Houston Texans are in the AFC South, so for that being said, I do expect them to, probably be the best team in that division by far. Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Colts are all kind of up in the air right now in terms of their just kind of they have a lot of questions about them. I think this Texans team is the only team in the AFC South that really has their answer honestly at quarterback, and really has proven themselves over the last 3 to 4 years that they are capable of being a contender and obviously winning the NFC South. So I do have the Houston Texans finishing first place in the AFC South. And, of course, that means they'll be hosting a divisional playoff game. And I have them going 11-6. I am still a little bit worried about this offensive line. Again, I'm not sure how losing a guy like, Laremy Tunsil can be good for this team. Now, I do expect them to replace him. I think Cam Robinson's a great addition. Of course, they have some veterans on their offense. They got Tyus Jones. Tyus Howard. So some pretty solid guys, but still, they got to protect C.J. Stroud. If they can protect C.J. and give him enough time, I think we all saw his rookie year. He had some of the best offensive line play in the entire NFL, and he was able to dissect the defense, take his time, make beautiful passes. And again, C.J. Stroud, when he's got the time, he's obviously one of the potential top five quarterbacks in the entire NFL. So, guys, expecting them to have to start off the season a bit rough. They do have a relatively difficult schedule. They open up week 1 at the LA Rams. Man, that's very tough. Again, a very tough going up against a playoff team on the road in Los Angeles. We're not sure about Matthew Stafford for game 1. I do expect to see Matthew Stafford in game 1, but maybe not week 1, so it's possible. But again, still, opening up at the LA Rams and then home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 2. Some very tough early matchups for Houston, but I still expect them to be a little bit better than they were last season. Of course, they have a very solid defense. Again, Will Anderson Jr., potential to be Defensive Player of the Year when he's fully healthy and gets a full season. Now, guys, today I do want to give another shout out to the O's who defeated the Boston Red Sox last night. The young O's, the young guys who made their debuts recently over the weekend. Dylan Beavers and Samuel Basallo. These guys have been hitting the ball amazing. Each had 2 hits last night. They're really seeming to hit well and adjust to major leagues, seamlessly, effortlessly, which has been great to see for us. Obviously, the O's are looking to play spoiler right now, take down some of these wild card teams. And tonight, we got Tomoyuki Sugano going up against Walker Buehler at 7-10. And one more thing before I end up today's video, guys. I want to give a huge shout out to my guy who called it quits today. John Wall retired from the NBA today. If you guys don't know, he's my favorite player of all time. John Wall is an absolute stud. Many, many great years on the Wizards, so thanks for all the memories, John, and best of luck in retirement and good. And thank you again, and congratulations on having an amazing career with the Wizards, also with the Clippers, and again, obviously the Rockets, but very, very good career for Mr. John Wall. So best of luck to you, my guy. Hope to hear from you soon. And, just say, guys, thanks for watching. This has been another episode of the Zcast. Shout out John Wall. Congratulations on retiring, my guy. John Wall forever. Peace.